announcement, I am going to be in Boston the weekend of April 25th. And that means that I will be making the pilgrimage to the Brattle Book Shop. And the Hall Wars will be back on, and Steve Donahue will not beat me. Hey BookTube, haven't filmed in a while, so this is going to be a 3-part video. One, couple books that I recently hauled, which I think are fantastic. 2, the current books that I'm reading right now, and then 3, a few of the reads from my past couple of months that I wanted to highlight and recommend to you guys. So first, starting with the book hauls. This isn't a big haul, I only got a couple, but I went to a new used bookstore, or new to me at least, kind of near my house, and I found a hardcover Gabriel Garcia Marquez of Love and Other Demons. It's published by Knopf, and I have never seen Garcia Marquez hardcover in the wild. I know I mainly shop at Goodwill, so it's a little more difficult to find rare books, I think, but I just think this is an amazing cover. It's a slim volume. I think it's my second favorite Garcia Marquez book. It's really fantastic. But yeah, Of Love and Other Demons. And then I think I actually found this thick boy at Goodwill. And it is the collected stories of Guy de Maupassant, perhaps. This is a massive, massive volume. I believe it is 1,000 pages on the dot. Nope, 1,003. It's published by Avenel Press. I don't know how long ago, but it looks old. I've read the Penguin Classics selected short stories of de Maupassant, and I thought they were great. A few of them were spectacular. I loved them. The rest were solid. I know he was writing in the mid to late 1800s, like protege of Flaubert. So I'd like to tackle this at some point and read all that de Maupassant has to offer. Yeah, those are the 2 books that I wanted to show. Next, what am I currently reading? I have 1 fiction book and 1 nonfiction book currently on the docket. I'm about halfway through a reread of 9 Stories by J.D. Salinger. If you watched my top 10 novels of all time video, this isn't a novel, but this is on here. It's my favorite work from Salinger. I think it really captures the post-World War II American intellectual spirit. Not that I was there, but just the atmosphere of New York City and chain-smoking cigarettes and either intellectually stimulating conversations or intellect-shaped hole in somebody's heart, something like that. All these stories are great, and I'm loving the reread just as much as the first read. That being said, I should probably reread Catcher in the Rye soon, since I haven't read that since high school. But 9 Stories, J.D. Salinger. And second book I'm reading right now is a recommendation from Ruben to Readers It May Concern. I was talking to him about literary criticism, and I asked him for some recommendations. And he gave me a lot of good ones, a lot of more intense reads, and he threw this one in as well, saying it's kind of a nice beginner work. And having never studied literary criticism, I realized I had this on my shelf, so I started with this. And I'm about halfway through. And the way I can describe, well, the book is How to Read Literature Like a Professor by Thomas C. Foster, professor at University of Michigan, Flint, I think. Whatever. But he is going through a lot of classic works and talking about like how to read through the lines, how to understand symbolism and patterns and such. And I think it's a good wake-up call for people who want to read deeper, just to understand these certain archetypes that pop up over and over again, and finding indicators of these archetypes, recognizing them, and thinking through different symbols, like the Christ figure or baptism for Christianity, or like weather, seasons, the times of the year. What does that mean? It was up, down, flying, falling, all sorts of things. It's kind of like you know how the police have the phrase like BOLO, be on the lookout. That's what I think this book is. Like, be on the lookout for all these things, symbolism in books. And if you're on the lookout, you'll start to see them. And as you start to see them, you'll start to understand more of stories, and hopefully you'll become a more critical reader just based on that fact. Now, what this isn't is like actual theory. I don't know what literary criticism theory is, but I don't think this is it. But I'm really enjoying it so far, so thank you, Ruben. I'll put his channel right here. You can watch him. Watch him over me. He knows what he's talking about. So, that book. Alright. Now, I haven't done a wrap-up video since January, so I'm just going to show 5 books that I've read recently that I liked. The first one is this, The ISIS Apocalypse by William McCants. I actually talked about this in my recent book haul video. It's about the rise of ISIS in 2015-ish, 2014, 2015, in the corner of Iraq and Syria. But I reviewed it there in my book haul, actually, because I read it speedily. This is solid. I'm only including it here because I wanted to add it in the title of the video. But yeah, if you want to learn about the Islamic State, this is a solid book. Next up, also in my book haul video, but I never finished, or I didn't finish prior to that film, The Noonday Demon by Andrew Solomon, an atlas of depression. So, Andrew Solomon, depressive. He's a writer. He was New Yorker, New York Times Magazine, NPR. He's got a couple books as well. But this is a book all about depression, as it says. What it is, how it happens, how it happened to Solomon multiple times, breakdowns. If you have depression, it can be latent. It doesn't have to be like active all the time. You can have large breakdowns, or you can just be in like a normal depression. I don't want to get into tangents, but this is a real and personal look at depression from somebody who has suffered greatly in his life, Andrew Solomon, as well as many more case studies, people he's interviewed, of people who have suffered more than Solomon in their battles or their dealings with mental illness. And I thought that the anecdotes and the stories that were told were so powerful here. It did get a little dragged down by the sections on like treatments and alternatives and like demographics. Solomon is quite comprehensive here. This is a huge book. There's a ton of endnotes too that I didn't read because they weren't great. But if you want to know anything about depression, or you know somebody who's going through it, your friend, family, coworker, anything, I'd recommend you at least try this out. The first couple chapters, which are like 60, 70 pages total, are amazing. So at least try to read those if you have this book. The rest can get a little into the weeds, but I really do recommend this on the topic of depression. I read this book a few weeks ago, Front Row at the Trump Show by Jonathan Karl, Chief White House News Correspondent for ABC News. Is he still? I don't know. This is about President Trump's first term in office, prior to his first term in office, up to 2018-ish. And Karl has a long history with Trump, just based on interviews that he did with him in New York when Trump was just a Playboy television host, real estate mogul. They did interviews over the years leading up to Trump's presidential candidacy, and then so on. Karl's in the White House many times as the White House correspondent, and he provides a first-person look into the craziness of the Trump first term. You got Trump himself, but then you got Sean Spicer, Steve Bannon, the 10 Days of Anthony Scaramucci, and a whole other cast of characters. That place was wild. I think a little too wild for like the centerpiece of the known world, if you consider the White House to be that. Whatever. But I've done a little research, and apparently this book doesn't really bring much to the table in terms of like new information on Trump's presidency. Like, you could get it just by following politics back then, which I didn't really do. I was in high school and college. High school, maybe. But yeah, it was a good refresher for me, but I think it's just one more book in the Trump genre. So I gave it like a 2 or a 3. I think I gave it a 3 since it helped me remember what happened. Yeah, Front Row at the Trump Show. All right. I think my favorite read of April so far has been No Country for Old Men by Cormac McCarthy. It's my second McCarthy after The Road. And this is a little different than The Road, which I found out. I kind of slept through the movie the first time I watched it, so I was going in a little blind. But this was such a treat. It had what I comprehend as the classic McCarthy prose. I'm fairly certain he did it a little differently in the 20th century, but I've only read 21st century McCarthy. So this is what I got to work with. And No Country for Old Men follows the trio of Llewellyn Moss, who finds a crap load of money from a drug deal, and he takes the money. Then Anton Chigurh, the hitman, the crazy psychopathic serial killing hitman that is trying to get the money back and maybe kill Moss, maybe not. And then Sheriff Ed Tom Bell, who is a World War II veteran. The other two guys are Vietnam veterans, I think. But this is set in like 1980, I think. Tangent. But Sheriff Bell is a World War II veteran, and every chapter he's reflecting on his life and how the country has changed, hence the title, No Country for Old Men, and how he can atone for some of the things that happened in World War II. And I think Bell is the true protagonist of this story, in that this whole thing is a way for Bell to try to atone for what he's done, but he can't keep up with the happenings of the world while he's still stuck on the past. It's tough for him to adapt, and that provides for a tragic mental situation for the man. Plus the cat and mouse chase with Moss and Chigurh, and also Wells. I think it was Woody Harrelson. I think it's just a solid book. A little better than The Road, but I haven't disliked McCarthy so far, so really solid. No Country for Old Men. All right, and last book is Airframe by Michael Crichton. When is this published? This is a book about a plane incident. It's from 1996. It's not about a plane crash, but it's about a plane incident where plane goes like this for whatever reason, and a lot of people get injured on the flight, and a few people die, and the captain says it's turbulence as the plane is landing into LAX, but it's kind of fishy situation. So the story follows the team at Norton Aircraft, kind of like a Boeing type company. Norton is the one who built the actual airframe, like most of the plane except for like the engine. And they're trying to get heat off their back and say that no, it wasn't our plane that broke, it was like the engine or the pilot or something else. It wasn't us. And we follow this tough kind of young executive, Casey Singleton, female type, who is in charge of quality assurance on the airplane. So she's kind of bouncing back and forth between all the different branches of the aircraft building process. And this is a typical Crichton techno thriller-ish. He gets really in deep into how planes are made, how planes fly, the connection between the FAA and the plane builders and like stockholders and such, as well as some European, Asian, American politicking regarding regulation of airplanes. So I thought that was a little heavy. I wasn't too interested in the airplane part, but there is a nice typical Crichton conspiracy, and the plot is fast and engaging, and the characters, while there are probably too many, there's a lot of solid characters in here. So I'm just making my way through the Crichton books right now. And Airframe, 3.5 out of 5. I enjoyed it. This probably isn't one that I would read again, but I had fun while it was under my reading gaze. So, Crichton. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys.